Hi, I'm Michael Azarad, Editor-in-Chief of The Talkhouse, and welcome to the Talkhouse Music Podcast. In the late 90s, I had a couple of friends who called themselves Struggle Puss. They made freeform music with effects pedals. They sat on the floor and turned knobs and made weird instrumental noise. Eventually, they brought in their friend Tunde, and so now it was the three of them, sitting on the floor, improvising electronic music with the same absolute focus and intent and lack of self-consciousness that little kids have. The thing was, this guy Tunde could really sing. A couple of years later, Tunde Adebimpe co-founded a band called TV on the Radio, and they proceeded to take Williamsburg and then the world by storm. 15 years and 5 albums later, the spirit of creativity and focus and unself-conscious intent still lives on in that band, which is kind of miraculous. It's funny because unknown Mortal Orchestra's Ruban Nielson came to his band in a similar way. He'd led a hard-edged New Zealand post-hardcore band called the Mint Chicks, and when that ended, he found himself in Portland, Oregon around 2010. He began messing around with music again, making highly wrought, idiosyncratic home recordings in his basement, with an odd psychedelic feel. Naturally, this new project, Unknown Mortal Orchestra, got a record deal, and Nielson began touring and gathering crowds in critical praise. The UMO sound has broadened and morphed over the course of 3 albums, right through this year's release, the acclaimed Multi-Love, that's as heartfelt as it is sonically adventurous. So both these musicians have a similar free creative spirit, and they have some other things in common too, as you're about to hear. In retrospect, it's no surprise that they're huge fans of each other's music, but aside from the Mint Chicks opening for TV on the Radio many years ago, they'd never really met. What a great excuse to put them together and see what they have to say to each other. Sure enough, they get down to some intriguing stuff. Like, when you write a song that comes from a deep emotional place, how do you find it in yourself to sing that song on stage, night after night, and sometimes for year after year? Where does inspiration come from? What does success do to creativity? They spoke via Skype. Tunde was in Los Angeles, and Ruban was in Portland. The audio quality is a little glitchy here and there, but you'll get the gist. Listen for when Tunde laughs so much that he's weeping. So here's Tunde Adebimpe from TV on the Radio, and Ruban Nielson from Unknown Mortal Orchestra on the Talkhouse Music Podcast.
Tunde!
Hey man, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm good.
This is a big deal for me. You're a big... Just like, yeah, this is cool.
Oh god. Hey, can we turn our cameras on? That's better for me.
Sweet, yeah.
Hey dude.
Hey.
So how is everything going on tour?
It's all right. We're really like worn out at the moment because it's like we just went to Europe for the 5th time this year, and I don't know. It was kind of it's been pretty full on. But yeah. So, but it's good. I'm not complaining really. I'm just kind of trying to be honest about it. And I was just like I'm kind of tapped out.
Oh man. Dude, you don't have to tell me at all. Yeah. It's like it's the burn. You can definitely end up in it. It's stressful, and it's like I hate to be the one who says like no one really gets that. If you have friends who aren't in bands or on the road, I feel like the mental image is always you guys are having 1,000% fun all the time, and it's just like you're this merry group of like But it's crazy because you have to get into a headspace every night too.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it is really fun at the same time. It's like I don't want to complain about it to people because it's like a dream job.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Like, but can you imagine having 1,000% fun all the time for like 5 years? Or if you just like kind of hardly get to stop, it's like imagine
that's what I mean. Yeah.
Your bachelor party just went for like 2 months. Like,
sometimes you want to not be at the party. Sometimes you're like that. This
you just want to sit down and have have a little meal by yourself and think about things, but you don't really get that chance.
Yeah.
I've taken to going to the bathroom when I don't need to go to the bathroom and just sitting on the toilet, just like doing nothing for a second, because just like no one's gonna bother me. It's like just put the seat down, sit down. Sit on my phone just by myself in a little cubicle.
Yeah. Has anyone caught on yet? Or are they just like...
well, they will now. I guess I gave away my secret.
Everyone's just like, I hope he's okay, man. It's a long...
Yeah.
Oh, man. It's great. Do you have kids?
Yeah, got two
Yeah,
kids,
yeah. How
which is
is that? Like,
oh, that's cool because like kids always have like so much energy. So
yeah,
I get a lot of energy from them when I'm back home,
sure.
and because things are going well at the moment, it's like it's good. So
Yeah,
like I'm paying for their school and all that stuff, and it makes me feel
sure.
like a good dad or something.
Oh, yes,
And
of
then,
course.
but they're really cool. It's like spiritual energy is like super high with them. So whenever I get around them, it's always good. It's like where I get most of my energy from, I think.
That's wicked, dude. That's the best. Definitely.
What about you? Do you have kids?
I don't. Hopefully, sometime soon. Yeah, I don't know.
Hopefully, out there somewhere, I have
Yeah,
some.
exactly. Yeah, no, definitely. Hopefully, I'll be getting a text or an email soon.
Yeah.
we're expecting. We're expecting an email. um, yeah, I mean, I'm totally down. I really like how bizarre and fun kids are.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I find it really inspiring to have kids and stuff. And my dad was a musician.
Hmm.
Just like he played jazz and stuff when I was a kid. So it doesn't seem like people always like, how do you balance music and having kids? And like I don't really know what that question is about. It's just like
I
I
was gonna
grew up.
say you have no idea. Yeah,
Yeah, it's like balance. It's like just a job. Everybody's. It's not that different to like somebody who's like a fisherman and they have to be away for like 6 months of the year.
totally. Yeah, but it's yeah,
Yeah,
it's just the deal.
yeah. It makes me feel like it's just a job. It's not like I'm living the dream. Really, it's just like I'm just
Oh man, no, that's it's funny. I was talking to like a friend of mine in a band who was just saying, it's like as soon as you have any semblance of a home life, it puts so many things into perspective about your art.
right.
Like as far as going out on the road and that part of it. Yeah,
And it has to make you have it has to really count too. You can't just like go out
yeah,
and amuse yourself. It's got to be like, why am I out here?
yeah.
It's got to be kind of like I don't know. It's got to be kind of right on all the time, or else
Yeah,
it's kind of like, why am I here? And it makes like those decisions, those like like weird the word dichotomy. Like have those like punk rock decisions to make about like whether you should do something or whether you shouldn't. It always
sure.
makes it easier when I have something like when I have my kids to think about. Like we just
Yeah, it's just for something.
yeah, and it's like
Yeah,
we got booked to play in Israel, and then I had all these people. This is kind of a touchy subject, but I got contacted
sure,
by
sure.
all these people on both sides of the Palestine and Israel argument. But we'd already booked the show, and we were halfway through the tour, and my instinct was to kind of to cancel the show, but
Hmm.
just like financially, it just wasn't. It was going to kind of like ruin the rest of the year, so.
Oh,
I
sure.
had, but I ended up making it was like a really hard decision, but I ended up just deciding to play the show and then donate the profits to UPA. And I thought like, well, and then I got by a lot of the BDS movement, like the boycott Israel movement.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, but it was like I didn't, and they were like kind of angry that I didn't cancel the show. But I was just kind of like, like next time I'll maybe make the right decision. But I decided to just do the thing that wasn't going
Well,
to ruin my finances. Because I mean, I would love to just be able to make like moral decisions. I'd love if everything was just down to morals. But like in that particular thing, it was just like, well, we already booked the show and it's like too late
right.
now. So I don't know. I think it was helpful to them because I was just like, you have to contact the band before, contact the booking agent in the band before, so that because I thought like, well, I don't like what the Israeli government does, but like, I'm sure our audience isn't like a bunch of like rabid, like, Zionists. So I kind of had this idea that's
Yeah.
just like, let's go play. I don't agree with what the American government's foreign policy is
Oh,
either.
sure.
So,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, so anyway, so it was kind of weird decisions like that, but like having a family just makes
No,
me,
I completely get that, and it's not like you're saying I don't give a fuck. It's like you're saying this is not at this juncture. It's
yeah,
not a
well, I
viable
just was
thing.
like,
Yeah.
I'm just this little human who just has a family.
Yeah. No,
my
of course, dude. Yeah.
but yeah, it makes things like that, or like if an ad comes up and they want to
Sure.
use
Dude,
it, I'm
of
always
course.
just kind of like, well, what is it going to do for my kids, or what is it going to do for It's not like, yeah, I don't know. I don't care what people think about me in terms of like punk
Dude,
rock.
um, you know what? It's one of the definitions of punk rock is doing whatever the fuck you want to, you know? And it's completely, you want to take care of your family. You're doing this thing. It's not easy to make a living as an artist, so it's your job, and you gotta hit it. Yeah.
Hey, can we talk about OK Calculator?
Dude, you can talk to me about whatever you want. And I'm just gonna say now, I'm gonna break in and say there was so much um for a period of time, I wasn't hearing anything I liked at all. Like anything I liked at all. And then like, just like you're touring, you're playing, you hear music all the time, you're just kind of like on the road. Like there's certain points where I stop knowing about bands. It goes from that period of just kind of like, oh yeah, this is coming out, this is coming out, this is coming out, and then I'm like 38 and I'm just kind of like, I don't know, man. I hope it's great. I hope you're into it, whatever you're doing. But I remember exactly where I was. I was in this little restaurant in Williamsburg called Miller's. My friend Carmen was working there, and I just got to say hi to her, and I was leaving, and it was a song from the first record, from the self-titled record. And I just stopped and I went back in. I was just like, Carmen, what the fuck is this? What the fuck is this? And she was just like, oh, it's this band, from Portland, da da da. And it was so refreshing to hear something that sounded, and not just refreshing. I was like, that sounds like something I should have listened to a long time ago, and I totally missed. And when I mean a long time ago, I was just like 1998 or something, but the coolest part of that, like something that was just like a wider, more beautiful 4-track experience. Anyway, you can ask me whatever the fuck you want. I love your band. I love what you guys do, and it's really good to be able to hang out and talk.
It's cool. I just revisited that recently because I used to listen to that a lot. I started listening to OK Calculator after I was already a big fan of the band, and actually my old band played, supported you guys.
That's Mint Chicks.
Yeah, in London, and that was right when you guys were like my favorite band, so it was like a big deal.
Oh,
but then I went back to OK Calculator. It's like that thing stands up as well as any of the records, I think. So, so I wanted to ask you, like, do you listen to that now and think, oh, that stupid thing, or do you? Because I think it's kind of a masterpiece. I was just thinking, it's like there's lines that are like, once I told myself I wouldn't touch your shoe with Hitler's dick. Stuff like that's so. It's like it's things that like I don't know. It's like
Buffalo Girls, the fantastic. Yeah, I don't think. No, I don't think it's stupid at all. It's funny because I've been cleaning. When I moved to LA, I took a lot of boxes from the storage space I hadn't been to in like 8 years, and I opened a box and it was like before someone would send you your label, whatever, would be like, here's what everyone's saying about you. And you're just kind of like, I don't want to open that email. I don't really care particularly. Yeah. But, before that, your publicist would send you like his phone books of articles and stuff like that. So I found one of those boxes, brought that in. I found this thing.
Whoa.
Which Dave and I silkscreened these to put on the CDs of OK Calculator when we started like leaving them. I found this shit in like a sketchbook and was just kind of like, oh my god. I'm old. It happened. I got old. Um, but that stuff, it's like silkscreening, putting something on a sticker and putting it on a CD and like hiding it places. It's like that's such an extension of just it's the first time I really found myself making art or music in a really free way, that wasn't like trying to be something I learned or whatever. It was really kind of, just like DIY, like, the first time you record a song and you're like, holy shit, I can do that. I can put as much shit on here as I want. And maybe it's the wrong idea, but that whole thing, it's like a lot of things just felt like audio sketchbooks, and when I met Dave, we just started like trading tapes and listening to each other's stuff and made, I think, 2 songs. But the rest of it was like stuff I'd recorded, like, just like when I moved to New York or was in school or
right. Cool.
I wrote Buffalo Girls in the bathroom of a hotel that I was staying at while I was shooting this movie called Jump Tomorrow. So I was acting in this movie after school.
Yeah.
It's this really weird thing where I was helping a friend write a script and then like minimally helping him, and he was kind of like, you should be in this. You should be in this short film while we're in school. I was at NYU for film. He's like, you should do it, be in it. And so I was in it and ended up winning this like acting award, and that movie ended up winning like the big film festival award. And like, I didn't give a fuck about acting. I was like, I want to be with my friend's shit. And then there was a feature. He got money for a feature from the BBC. And so he got to make a feature version of this short film, which is whatever, came out, whatever. But I was in this hotel room. I brought my 4-track because I just started making 4-track stuff in like, it's probably like 1998, and this is like 2000 or something. Yeah. And just was making songs, in the bathroom. I bought a toy guitar at a Toys R Us, like one of those just push button things. Like I think it was a WWF guitar, right, that just played instant riffs. Yeah. And that was a lot of the like weird, shitty noises on that thing. But it's just, it feels like a cool old sketchbook or something that you find. And it's really formative too. Like I listened to those songs and like you have a memory of a certain type of freedom that you had where you're just like, no one's gonna listen to this, so I can just fuck around forever. Like the idea of someone hearing it was not even like, that wasn't it.
That first album that I made was like that, where I was kind of like, this isn't cool. Nobody's going to care about this. It's just me. And so it's funny because, you go from that like feeling of like, I don't know, what I heard was that you guys made that and like left it in like coffee shops and stuff. Probably just being randomly like, okay, let's just make stuff. And then going from that to being like playing Wolf Like Me on like David Letterman, and him like coming out just completely blown away, like his mind blown. It's like crazy. I can kind of like, and I relate to that thing where you kind of look at the crowd and it's like a big crowd in some weird country and you're just like, how did it get to this? Like, and I feel like, I don't know, you guys were a big influence on me in that way, where it's just like seeing this band that kind of, it was just like, oh man, it just comes from this like pure beginning. And so like no matter where your band goes, I feel like it should, your creativity should always come from that kind of space of just being like in a room, just kind of tooling around and like trying to find something,
completely. And it gets, I feel like the longer you're in, the longer you're doing that, especially when it turns into your job, it can be really hard to get back to that feeling, it's just super. And but you have to, on some level, however, like whatever the kernel of that might be, you kind of, that's hopefully like the inspiration of it. But it's really, it's very weird when, I don't know, as you well know, it's the more people who hear your music, the stranger perspective you yourself can have on it, like just this awareness of, it sounds so basic to say it, but it's kind of just like, I always go from the perspective of, I hope people I really respect are into this, where it's like, artists I respect, like basically it's like even dead artists is just like, I hope they would think this is cool, because they really inspired me to do this. but then it's this other thing of just like, yeah, but so you want to make it good, but then it's this, you got to go on tour, and there's all these like kind of and it's not a complaint at all, but it's just like when someone knows your song, when a lot of people know a song, and you're kind of like, it's kind of cool because it's not really yours anymore. It's something you can share, but at the same time, it's just like you said, like looking out and just being like, I don't know. So performance wise, and I'm just interested because, speaking of writing alone in your room, you can really go to some places that are very therapeutic, but also kind of, it's you. It's really, it's not, I don't want to say vulnerable, but the state that you're in when you create it, like, yields a certain thing that you kind of achieve either in a few hours or a few days, and then you kind of like shape it. But then going back out, like if there's there are a few songs for me that were created, in a really just very dark time, confusing times, and they kind of helped me put all those thoughts in a place instead of, like all around in whatever I was doing or seeing. But then, getting on stage when we first started and either still being in that place, and playing show after show and being like, I have to go to this dark place to properly emote this thing. Yeah. And then you're suddenly like, actually, I can't fucking do that. Like there's I can't put this much of myself, especially since the emotion has passed and, either you've forgotten it or you've healed yourself in some way. Like I can't put this much into it. So that got kind of confusing, but then we were opening for Blonde Redhead, like sometime in like 2004, 2005. And I got to watch them. And the first thing I was thinking is just like, they're going to play some of the saddest songs, that I've ever heard, where it just sounds like they're in the middle of this pain, and the show they played, it was in those songs like took on a more theatrical nature, like not melodrama, but performance of it. And like I could just tell, I was like, you can't be that sad and fucking rock out like that. They're like, really, it's a translation of it, and do you feel that when you're performing? Do you feel like that's accurate, or do you kind of like go into a zone that fits like the inception of the song?
I think that I try to think about the roots of the song when I'm playing it every night, but it's sort of like it's just draining. I think I just like throw myself at it anyway, even though like I know it's kind of like can be a little bit dangerous to kind of dwell on the things that maybe the reason you wrote the song was to try and kind of make yourself feel better, to try and get it out. Like I don't know what you call it, like exercise the way you're feeling, but yeah, I think it's definitely like without like imitating yourself, you have to be slightly different than if you were reflecting on it.
Sure.
Like for real. But I don't know. It's always different. Sometimes I get too far into it. Like sometimes I'll really think about the memory that the song was about or something, and then it will be like seriously like not a good thing and like distract me. But I think people are watching you too, and I think people can see incredible amounts of nuance in what's going on in your mind. And I think that when you are having trouble psychologically when you're playing a song, like there are certain people that really care, who are watching, who see the whole thing, and that part of it is like really cool to me because I feel like a bit socially like isolated from people sometimes. And then so the idea of standing in front of like a bunch of people and like kind of going through these emotions and having other people recognize it and then be accepted by them, it's like it's a big deal to me. So I don't know.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, I think that's, I think you said it, it's like when you go back into those songs, there's there's the current of it, it's like the energy of that, whether it's reflective or kind of bombastic, and you just kind of, you like you said, you end up throwing yourself at it anyway. So it's kind of like, I feel like for things like that, I do kind of blank out, like I'm not very conscious of what I'm doing besides being on the rail of this familiar path. And then, yeah, you're right. You kind of look around and you're like, for whatever reason, this lonely thing connected with a lot of people, you know.
Yeah.
And
But you don't have to. You can be a method actor too, right? Like, I was just
sure.
thinking about how I watched the Robert De Niro, the actors studio, in the actors studio, the Robert De Niro one,
Mm-hmm.
and he talks about how he uses animals as a model for his characters.
Oh, yeah.
Like his characters might have an animal, which is kind of weird because I realize those guys are a little bit more like they're like more, a little bit more like comedians or something, where they're doing impressions of something, and then rather than going into like an emotional state and then hoping that reflects in the way that they're acting. And then it's like and he was talking about Taxi Driver, Robert De Niro was, and then he was saying that he based Travis Bickle on a crab, and then he's always coming in from the side on everything. And it was just fascinating to me to be like, oh, okay, so it's as simple as that. Like, it looks like a cool mannerism that he came up with, but really it's just that he's thinking about that Travis Bickle is a crab, like his spirit animal is a crab or whatever.
Right.
And, but then when I first heard TV on the radio, it was the first album, Desperate Youths, and it sounded like I didn't even understand what I was hearing at first. Like when somebody first played it to me, like I didn't know, like I had no references for it. I was going to ask you but you know how you think like, wow, how did Travis Bickle come up with that character? But then he goes,
oh no, completely. Yeah.
I was thinking like, how did you guys because you guys, it's like even now, like when I listen to it, it's not something I can easily reference, like come up with references for, or like, and it's also been like, you can hear like a lot of pieces of TV on the radio and like a lot of indie rock and hip hop stuff, like especially like indie hip hop that came after. But like, what did you guys think you were doing at the time? Like, what was going on in your head when you first started to like develop what would be like the TV on the radio sound, like what people would think of being the TV on the radio sound?
Zero fucking idea what we were doing. Like, zero idea, you know, because we'd come off of we made Young Liars, the EP. You know, Dave and I made that after. It was weird. So we put out OK Calculator, and that was, you know, Lark, super fun. And then 9/11 happened. Pretty much after 9/11, it was we decided, as most of our friends did, to just, you know, it's. If you had a job, a lot of people quit their jobs and just were like, fuck it, I'm going to play music full time. I'm going to do this full time. Like, there's no real reason to not do that. And that's when Dave and I, and we made paintings together and like sold them, would sit in front of the FC UK in Soho and sell paintings and like get kicked out of there. But so just roommates making shit. And then that happened. We stayed inside and pretty much made Young Liars that winter. Yeah. And then it got into the hands of, I think, Dave gave it to Corey from Touch and Go Records. Yeah. And he signed us, which I didn't know what that meant. I was kind of like, oh, I like Touch and Go. They're just going to put a record out. And we were both just like, yeah, that's great. I love Touch and Go, you know, da-da-da. Yeah. But then it was, you know, like we had to make an album, you know, after that. And it was it's weird because one of the songs from the album we already made, Staring at the Sun, I think was on Desperate Youth too. Yeah. And we'd made that earlier. But everything else, you know, was like the first time that I'd ever been in a studio. You know, Kip had a band called Fall in Love, and I think they'd been in a studio and made stuff, but we basically went in and just did whatever, you know, like tried to write some songs in the studio, which is always really difficult for me. So I don't really know. Like, it's so weird because I'd have to go and listen to it again to trigger some stuff that I think I might have like locked off for some reason. Yeah. But the honest feeling was cool, like we're gonna do this, let's head in and do it. It was not, I mean, it wasn't easy, because everyone suddenly has ideas about what an album is, and like what it needs to be. But I don't know, I feel like it's a pretty honest document of where we were at the time. It's just kind of confused and a little bit scared, trying to figure out the reality of where we were, because it was like, New York, like, I'm so tired of saying post 9/11. It's like it shouldn't be the mark of time passing, universal time. But it's it was a really kind of claustrophobic, like just strange, really strange experience. I feel like there's some times when you're writing songs and I don't know, it's like a meditation or a prayer, and that was one of the times that I felt like whatever we were doing or writing felt more like that sort of deal, than let's make a bunch of songs. It's kind of like, I don't know. For me, it's like I got to get whatever energy that's in me that's sometimes, not that I'm not initiating at times, I got to get it through somehow.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's anywhere near a satisfactory answer.
No, that's what it sounds like to me. It sounds like you didn't have any references. Like you just kind of just going like, let's do, like, making a bunch of really bold moves and just being like, well, this feels like expression. What I'm expressing something now, so that's it. I don't have to,
it sounds
without judging it aesthetically or giving anybody a chance to be like, to make it more accessible so that people can understand what they're listening to, because it was like a shocking. It's like pretty shocking album. Like I wish I could revisit like how little like idea I had at the time of what I was listening to. Like because all I remember is the feeling of being like, I don't even know what this is. Like I don't even know. It was like, and I think it made me separate these two different ideas. Like sometimes you're making something and you know what you're doing, and sometimes you just have to drop that whole idea and just start. It becomes more transcendent. Like it's more about the effect of what's going on, and you don't know if it's good or bad. You just know that it's
totally
like
that you're just throwing it at the wall because you got to get it away from you somehow. Watch what it comes out as. Very much so.
It's better. Music comes out better that way, but it's not always where, like, I don't always find myself in that place. Sometimes I'm in more of like I want a comfort zone and be able to say like, okay, now I'm doing this style of music, or I'm kind of feeling.
Oh, totally. Yeah, like I'm gonna make something that I would listen to, like that I would have listened to when I was 16, that I would listen to when I'm, like I do that a lot now, where I'm just like, because you don't want to. It's not that you don't want to be in that place, but like you said, it's just like it's not the only place you can be in, So a lot of songs I've written, I kind of thought, I was a fucking music snob when I was 16. Like, so I kind of want to write something that I would have been like, yeah, this is good, really, it's really fucking good. Cool, you guys need to know about this. You stop listening to that Enya bullshit. Listen to this. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. Do you? I was going to ask you, as far as lyrics go.
Yeah.
Like what? I know it happens in a bunch of different ways, but is it something that's pleasant for you? Is it something that's just kind of whatever, or do you hate it?
It's kind of hard. I don't hate it. I just like, it's kind of hard. Like I'm always like gathering phrases from stuff. These days, a lot of the times I'm like cannibalizing from things that I'm texting people. Like I'll be like texting someone I'm in a relationship with, and then I'll find myself saying things that are really honest. And then these days, the most beautiful things that I say to people, I just kind of prostitute those now. I just like, it's a horrible thing in some ways, but like it's almost like like everything that I live. I feel like everything that I say, I'm like eating that and taking it, and I'm taking it away and putting it aside for later. And like things that I hear people say sometimes, or like things, feelings that I'm having, or experiences, like I'm like gathering these like sentences that seem to kind of take a lot of feeling and distill them down to a few words. And so I like have a bunch of that stuff that I collect, and then later I want to take all those things and put them into families and like see which ones relate to each other, and then gather them together. So I kind of do that, like, but it's the hardest. It's kind of the hardest part. Like the music part comes a lot easier because I feel like the music part is a little bit more like if I get in the right zone, then I'll not to be pretentious, but like I'll be receiving it from somewhere. So I'm kind of
totally hear you. Yeah. And if you leave yourself open to it, it's going to show up. Yeah.
Yeah. I have faith that like when I sit down, I can get it. I can get the musical ideas, but the lyric stuff is almost like I have to live things. Like it's the same thing. I'm still gathering it from life, but
that's what I mean. Yeah, that's what I was.
I can't sit in a room and get lyrics. You know, I have to go out into the world and like make mistakes. I really kind of like most of my lyrics come from mistakes.
Yeah.
Life mistakes that make me go like, what did I just do? How did I get here? And then I have to try to, if I can explain it to myself.
No, of course, yeah. If you could eventually release a book of poetry called "What Did I Do?" Two readings. But yeah, I mean,
what about you?
I mean, a lot of times the same sort of deal. Or maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, I got into this place where it was kind of, you're just a little bit don't have much to pick from that you think is interesting lyric wise. So yeah, I went into like some really old emails from relationships, like the long whatever, I'm 26, I'm gonna write you fucking like 3-yard email about how I love you and you're wrong. And went through that. You find certain things that you can take out from there and use them. And I feel like if it's something you said to someone, it's the same as you're writing it.
Yeah,
writing it down somewhere. You're writing down the conversation you had and taking from it. But yeah, with a lot of sometimes I just sit there and think. I don't know. A lot of the time, I tend to, well, not a lot of the time. Every day I try to get up and write for about, 15 minutes. Pretty timed, like free association, try not to really, if I can avoid it, talk about my day or my, my, what I want to do. Although it's, turns into that too. But just like free writing and like lifting stuff from that can get really is useful, at least as a starting point.
Yeah. I have this thing where it's like I write things that sometimes I'll write things and I'll think they're surreal, but right somehow, and I think, oh, this makes no real sense, but it fits the song. It feels right. But then a year later, I'm like, oh my God, I just told everybody exactly how I felt about that situation. Like, and you realize, like, man, I was being really honest, but it's not surreal at all. It's like super confessional, and like I just gave away exactly what I'm feeling. But it took me like a year of being on tour and singing the song over and over to be like, that's not surreal. That's like, I explained exactly.
Yeah, that is the worst metaphor ever, because it's just me talking about it.
Just me saying what happened exactly as it happened. It's so weird. And so there's a lot of that too. It's like, I feel like there's a lot of stuff that's going on that has nothing to do with like your frontal lobe.
Yeah, it's a real. It's almost like forecasting sometimes too, where you kind of go, like you're saying, you put something down that's really surreal and it ends up happening, or you recognize it later.
I think that's what I always try to avoid saying that. I'm so glad you said that, because I always feel like sometimes I'm writing a song and I think that it's a surreal song, or it's a song about the idea of a relationship, and then a year later it plays out and the song is about something that hadn't happened to me yet, or maybe I planned it and then it came true or something, and that's really a trip. That's like the reason why I think I stay doing this is because you're in this like adventure where you kind of there are these unexplained things like that where you think like I wrote a song about a relationship that I hadn't had, and then a year and a half later I was in that relationship. It's like weird.
Yep. Yeah, and totally in the conditions under which it happened, and these weird bullet points of a relationship or an event. Yeah, it really is. I don't know. I mean, and I'm glad that you recognize that too, because there's a lot about staying, whatever you. I mean, there's a lot about being human that is completely bizarre, and I feel like the idea of when people talk about magic, and I wish there was another word for magic, because it's not a top hat and cards or like a cauldron, or crystals. There's a crystal place down the street from me. I refuse to believe it's magical. It's theological, friend. That's but it really does turn into this like you can't, you speak things into being sometimes, and it's it's a weird. Yeah, the idea of like, did I plan that? Was I already on this rail? But like, I definitely know. I definitely know what you mean. And there have been, it's a strange thing.
Yeah.
Have you ever had?
It's exciting because you never know what's going to happen, and it's always kind of like it's not scientific. It doesn't like make any sense in any way, but it's like, it keeps it's like one of the things where you think. My connection to any kind of God is just that I feel like there's something that keeps giving me songs, and those songs like keep me in business kind of thing. So it's like,
it's true.
That's real. Yeah. It's like, it's a real thing. Like,
it's a very real thing. I could tell. I mean, whatever. I could tell you later or something, but there are definitely songs where I don't. So you choose your words about spiritual things, but like I know for myself, I sometimes say something to a friend and they'd be like, "All right, man, I don't really. That's cool. I don't want to join your cult." And I'm like, "I'm not in a cult. I just don't know what else to call this shit." Yeah. So it's a period of time where you feel like, where I definitely felt like, for just to use a generalized, recognizable word, it's like God sticks its finger into the back of your head and just kind of does that for a while, and you're just sort of I don't know where that's coming from. I don't, but exactly, it keeps you in business. It's like it's just, you're right. It's encouraging.
Yeah,
and it's
and then it helps with your ego as well, because you can stay the same, and then if somebody thinks that something you did was good, you can always go like, "Oh yeah, that's good. It was good, but it wasn't like specifically this ego part of me, or whatever I think of as me, that actually brought it
into this."
Yeah, it's like maybe I'm just think of myself as like the messenger boy, and that keeps me feeling like the same. It's like,
sure,
what anybody says about what you did or whatever, you can always feel like, okay, cool, and then you kind of pass it like all the compliments over, and just be like gracious that you get to be like a part of it and stuff like that.
Absolutely, man. Like, for me, it's a feeling of gratitude that is best expressed by making more shit. Like
no,
it's really it's a very real thing.
Oh, here comes trouble. These people talk too much. Need to shut them up. Yeah, I'd rather be alone. Can you feel that rumble? All this borrowed time, it's been running out. It's the ending of the show. But I know now. Yeah, I know now. Yeah, everything's gonna be okay. Oh, I keep telling myself.
I had this other thing I wanted to ask you about.
Yeah, please.
There was this thing that you said in an interview. I couldn't find it online, but I think I remember. Like it made an impact on me. It must. I think you said in an interview quite a long time ago. I remember you talking about people asking you if it felt weird to be black and making rock, and you said, and you something. I think this. I don't know if this is the exact quote, but you said something very close to, "That's the most." I think that's the most ridiculous cultural amnesia imaginable. I think that was exactly what you said. And I remember reading that. Like, I remember reading that and thinking like that had a big impact on me, like because it was like something that I would have thought, but I would have felt like unable to, like it wasn't okay to say it. And I was like, is it okay to? Can we start saying stuff like that now? Like, is that how ridiculous that is? And but yeah, it was like I remember getting really, I don't know, it just stuck with me from when I read it. It could have been like 10 years ago, something.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I was going to say that answer probably came after having been asked it in a lot of interviews, and at first just being baffled. I was just like, "What are you?" And I got what people would mean. They're just like, playing rock. Some people would say indie rock, and it'd be like, okay, you're referring to the present. You're referring like, and also it's like, that's not fucking weird. We have a band. Like we made. If it was weird, we wouldn't have done it probably. If it felt weird. But then as I kept getting asked, especially by people who were, like, it's not just someone's zine. It's like I'm coming to you from Spin Magazine. I'm just like, you're a fucking music journalist, man. Like you should be on some level, at least a minor cultural historian, at least regarding rock and roll, like,
but it's not like
it's funny to me that no one ever brought it up,
Yeah. I mean, it's like but I mean, that's, no, I think it's more like it's okay to say that just because, I don't know. I think the thing was like I related more to your answer than to the question, but I realized that the question was the prevailing status quo. Like it was more normal to ask you that question than it was for you to reply with your answer, but your answer was the truth. It was like really weird. I was kind of like, well, this is super important. Like what he just said was super important, and it was like, God. Yeah. So anyway. It was cool, but
you gotta. I feel like it took me so long to realize or even care about thinking about who was talking to me when they were gonna, when it was an interview.
Yeah.
I was just kind of like, oh, I'm getting interviewed, and then I was kind of like, oh, that means all sorts of shit, like where it's someone can take a third of what you say and put it in, and then fabricate the rest, or somebody can cut and paste a bunch of shit from different articles and put their name on it, or somebody can, or you just have a conversation with somebody who you would probably hang out with otherwise, even if it wasn't, a situation. But it's a part of me, it's like I also feel like there's really nothing to lose by saying that kind of thing to someone, like obvious truths where you're just kind of like, I don't know, man, check it out. It's like you're fucking up right now.
I think being in New Zealand, like being Polynesian and playing in like a punk band in New Zealand, it was like something that I was kind of running into a lot. Like me and my brother were, because Polynesians like, why are you in a punk band?
It's
dude,
I'm so sorry.
Why would I not be in a punk band? Like what is race like? Why would race have anything to do with what instrument I picked up or whatever? So I don't know. It on me. It kind of made me realize that you can move into whatever area you want to, as long as you have like authenticity. And it's actually in the future, it's not going to be weird. But if you if you might with some awkward, like idiotic stuff, but it's like you just go ahead and like make the music. Like you don't have to worry about it, because it was hard. It was kind of hard for a while to feel like that I wasn't white enough to to play the guitar or something for a while, and then I realized like it gave me like this idea that's just like fuck that. That's so ridiculous, you know.
It's completely ridiculous. You know, it's maybe for the time being, because we could have a 3-hour discussion about how ridiculous it is. We could just say it's completely fucking ridiculous. And yeah, I mean, also, like you said, in the future, it's not going to be a huge deal, at all. You know, and maybe we're experiencing the first part of that not being a huge deal. You know, or maybe it's going to be. I don't know, but it's the whole, you know, that Lee Scratch Perry quote when they asked him like, well, what kind of music are you making? You know, and he said, I'm making, you know, future music for future children. And it was kind of just like, I love you, Lee. You're crazy, crazy. You're a crazy person. You're a crazy magical wizard. And I love you, you know, and you think that's, yeah, it's, oh my God, it's so narrow. It's so narrow, that line of questioning.
It's like important. It's almost like important to like go to fuck with people even more. I feel like maybe that's just like creative, like inspiration. A thing to inspire you creatively to be like, oh wait, I thought this was totally fine to kind of do this, but it seems like weird. This is pushing buttons, so you know, like go do it even more. Like
yeah. Maybe I'm gonna find bigger buttons.
Yeah,
exactly. Are you going to be home for a while now?
I think I'm back not very long, like just over a week, you know, and then we go to Australia and New Zealand, and I'm gonna it's cool. New Zealand be cool. I'm gonna tour with my dad, share a hotel room with my dad for a week.
Cool.
And he's playing. He's gonna play horns on stage with us, so it'll be cool.
That's awesome.
I'm looking forward. I feel like that's not going to be like a normal tour thing. It'll be like nice. It'll have like, I don't know. It'll be cool. Hopefully we don't know each other.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Were you? Do you feel? Is it a better feeling? I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm just assuming it would be like playing at home. You know?
Yeah.
It's like hard. It's hard. Do you feel? Do you feel like?
Yeah, it's hard. It's like there's it's been the hardest sell has been like UMO New Zealand. It's so far. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's felt that way. Like Australia, not really. Like Australia's always been really supportive, and the band has kind of been like, yeah, it's almost been like Europe or something like that. Mm-hmm. But like, I don't know. It's weird. It's like that thing. Like not that it's like. It's that useful for me to think about like race a lot, but I think there's something about like being Polynesian that's like when I'm there, it's like there's a lot. I feel like a lot of assumptions about what I am that I don't feel in other places. Like in America, it's just like wow. Nobody knows what a Polynesian is, so I'm just like free. But like I go back to like it's like weird to say that in the States, but it's like but I go back to
exactly.
I feel like I don't know if I'm paranoid, but like. I don't know if I'm paranoid, but whenever I go back to New Zealand, I always get this. I feel like this kind of like, "Who do you think you are?" thing. Thing. But I don't know. Maybe that's partly like paranoia for like years of paranoia.
Well, I mean, a lot of paranoia is insanely justified. So you know, it's weird. I mean, it's weird for we. I grew up in Pittsburgh, and it was weird for me going back there because it was kind of. It's like a very strange thing, you know. Like I feel like if you go back to any place you feel like you didn't fit in as a kid or teenager, there's always a little bit of like, there's always a little bit of paranoia, and I
Yeah.
feel like that also gives the shows a little bit more of a fuck you, where you're just like,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
this is
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
where I'm from, and
Yeah.
you came to see me.
Yeah.
Uh,
I already have your money.
yeah, yeah. Thanks. There's a I don't know if you were even into the Violent Femmes for a second,
Yeah,
but
sure.
there's a song, I forget what record it was on, but the song is called "I'll Make More Money." I'll make more money tonight than you've ever dreamed of, and the lyric is, I fucking love them. But the lyric is, I'll make more money tonight than you've ever dreamed of. You thought I was strange, just look at me now. And if you're lucky, I'll play your city. And you can come see me if you've got the money.
That's awesome.
So fucked up. So good.
Yes.
Oh man. Well, dude, have a good rest at home, and have a good. So, do you ever? But you're in Portland now. Like,
Yeah.
you
I'm
live.
actually
with-
at a hotel right now because me and my wife are on like a staycation kind of thing.
Oh yeah, nice.
Yeah.
That's cool. Well, yeah. Enjoy your time off and have a good rest of tour. And
Cool.
yeah, and maybe we can type each other our information. I can
Okay.
Get you
Sure.
that stuff.
Okay. Man, this has been a dream come true, man. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
likewise. So fun. So fun. Cool. Well, I'll talk to you soon.
Multi love checked into my heart and trashed it like a hotel room. Who's your God? Where is she? She wants to bury me in Austin, or never she go. She don't want to be a man or a woman. She wants to be your love.
And that's it for this edition of the Talkhouse Music Podcast. Thanks to our producer-engineer, Elia Einhorn. If you haven't already, please do subscribe to the Talkhouse Music Podcast on iTunes, and every week you'll get fascinating conversations between smart, notable musicians of all genres and generations. And if you can, by all means rate and review us on iTunes. You can also visit our SoundCloud page. And to read smart, notable musicians writing about new music, please do visit thetalkhouse.com/music.